Today we kōrero with the incredibly impactful Tesh Randall. Now I don't think there's any intro that could do her justice, but I'm going to give this a nudge. She's the co-founder of Raglan Food Co and of Weave Cacao. She's a director at Daisy Lab and the founding trustee of the Values Trust, which we'll hear more about soon. She's a philanthropist, a writer, a creative, a connector, and somebody who steps up and gets stuff done when it needs to be done. We kōrero about understanding yourself and your people, about creating spaces for positive vibes, the importance of connection to self, connection to others, and connection to your environment, and all the amazing mahi that she's doing with the Values Trust. Let's get into it. Kia ora, Tesh. Thank you so much for having us today at Raglan Food.
Of course.
This is like one of the most homely workspaces I've ever come into. It's so cool.
It's nice, eh? Yeah, we think that a lot of offices and factories have this really kind of clinical corporate feel. It feels sort of cold, so we're trying to make something a bit more cozy.
Yeah. So we start off all of our interviews with a wellbeing card.
Ooh,
so
wellbeing cards.
We're going to go for a random.
Okay.
And we use these as like conversation starters in workplaces and families instead of asking our how are yous.
So I'm asking you, or it's asking me?
It's for you. It's
okay.
asking you.
What can you do today that you were not capable of a year ago? I can get through a whole spin class without feeling exhausted. Does that count?
Yeah, definitely.
I've only just started that in the last sort of 6 months.
That's so cool.
And at the beginning I was like, wow, I'm dead. You know, like this is killing me.
Yeah.
And then now the last couple of weeks I've been like, yes, I'm pedaling and I still feel fine. I could do this for longer.
Good work.
Yeah.
What made you start spin?
I wanted to find exercise that was fun. Yeah, I've been struggling to find something that I could kind of stick with and actually enjoy and look forward to doing. And then, yeah, my friend started doing these spin classes in Raglan, and it's kind of like a disco. Like she has music going and headphones and lights, and it feels like a little party on a bike. And yeah, it's working for me. I'm going to stick with it.
My kind of vibe. That's what we need. That's exactly what we needed. Exercise. My friend made us do spin years ago, and it was the most punishing thing I've ever been through in my life. And I never went back.
Oh, you did not push through
I did not push through the pain. But I think that vibe is much more me, with lots of loud music and lights, and that would keep me there.
Yeah.
So tell us about you anyway. Tell us about your journey, your whānau, and how you've gotten to where you are now.
Well, my journey has been kind of like a wiggly one. I grew up in the far north in Dargaville, Coomera capital, and I was homeschooled, so I've never actually been to school like in my life. Never done a day at school. Didn't go to university, didn't do an OE, so I went straight from school, and I finished school quicker because you can work at your own pace with homeschooling. So I finished 7th form when I was about 15, and I just got into full-time work. Yeah, so I've done heaps of different jobs, like a very random, eclectic selection of jobs, so you couldn't plot the career path to yogurt from all the different things that I've done. But yeah, really close with my family, loved being homeschooled, spent heaps of time with my siblings. There's 4 of us, I'm the oldest.
Yeah.
And yeah, really close to them and my parents, and they were at home as well because my dad is an architect and a builder, and he would work from home, and Mum was there teaching us, and so we're all kind of together, and my grandparents were there as well, and both sets of grandparents were in Dargaville, and spent heaps of time with them too. And yeah, so really lovely like family environment and lots of time to pursue my own interests and do things I wanted to do. And I started my first little business when I was like 12 on Trade Me, and I bought a digital camera. I bought the camera off Trade Me, and I faked my profile on Trade Me because you're supposed to be 18. So I and told a little white lie there. And Mum and Dad didn't even really know what Trade Me was at that point. And then I started buying old cell phones, and then ones that didn't have photos or descriptions. And then I just like market them better, the same phone pretty much. So I just buy the same phone, put a charger with it, take photos of it, write a better description, and resell it for more. And it was like a very simple business model, but it worked quite well.
Works, yeah.
And yeah, and that was my pocket money as a young teenager. And yeah, so I got to do those sorts of things because I had time. You know, I could kind of do my schoolwork around other things, and loved reading, so I did a lot of reading at night, and if I'd wake up in the morning, I might read for a couple of hours. And Yeah, so I guess it's kind of different. You know, when I talk to other people, it's definitely different than their journey, which is more like, school, uni, maybe an OE, and then kind of getting into a career. Yeah.
Epic. So what made your whānau decide to do homeschooling?
Well, apparently they'd already decided that. I think they'd each decided that individually, mum and dad, before they even got together. Like, they'd thought about the idea of homeschooling and thought, oh, that would be really nice to do. I think they didn't have the best experience at school. I think that's what happened. Like, they didn't really, like, maybe at primary school it was good, and then high school there was, like, bullying, and it just wasn't the best environment for learning, and I think they thought they wanted to do something better, like, for their kids.
That's epic.
And I'm glad they did, but it was a big sacrifice on their part, and especially on mum's part, because it's very time-consuming.
Yeah,
you're there all the time with your kids and heaps to organise and stuff. So, yeah. I don't know if I could do it, but I'm really glad she did it.
Yeah. And it's a testament also to the environment you've created, like just walking in to Raglan Food today, like the vibe, there's music playing and everyone's just happy and cheerful and chatty and just engaged. Like, it just has this beautiful vibe, not just the physical building itself, but the people within it. So that's really cool that you've been able to find that path for yourself and sort of create the rules, I guess, or the engagement that you have here is a direct result of what your family have created for you, that safe environment, and you've done the same for your work colleagues. I think
I definitely tried anyway. We had a very warm and welcoming home, and you'd always want to bring your friends over and invite people for lunch, and
that's so cool. So Raglan Food is totally plant-based, which I adore. I have a very dairy intolerant whānau, so we have your yogurt. We have about 4 or 5 jars a week of your vanilla bean.
Keep it up.
And you've been vegetarian since 18, so how did that decision come about, or how did that all start?
Well, everyone has a different path with that, like some people for health reasons and some people animal lovers and so on. And I think for me, it was more the environment. I mean, I love animals as well, very much so. But I was really concerned about climate change. And I watched some documentaries about it when I was quite young. And it just seemed like, wow, this is a really big problem. And if we don't change some of our habits, then it's just going to get worse and worse. And so it was, a combination of health. I could also see benefits for health. I was reading, studies that were showing that vegetarians are living way longer than others, and that, I don't know if you saw that Blue Zone documentary. A lot of people have seen that on Netflix, and all those communities where they're living to 100 and over, they're all vegetarian. Like it's pretty well established at this point. So so there was that, and wanting to help the environment, and then also the more that I learned, the more that I could see that there was a lot of cruelty going on towards animals as well. I didn't know that layer at the start, and then I found that out later, and that's kind of more motivation as well, because it's just, the way that we treat animals is pretty barbaric, in a lot of ways. So, for all those reasons, I'm vegetarian. And now, at this point, like, I have zero craving for meat. I don't like the smell of it. So you couldn't pay me to eat it, so... But the area that's harder is dairy, and that's sort of where the yogurt started, because dairy is delicious, and then it's in a lot of things that are delicious, so cheese and ice cream and yogurt and chocolate and all those things. So that's definitely been the harder area to transition away from. I found the meat pretty easy.
I find, being the dairy intolerant family that we are, we check every label, obviously. And things you would not think dairy is in.
It's snuck in there.
And you're like, there's actually no purpose, because we obviously bake dairy-free at home.
And you don't need it.
You don't need it. And I was like, just change that one product and we would be away. But anyway, I find it really intriguing how businesses make their decisions, when I don't think it would be I could be wrong, but too much of a cost difference to,
to swap it out
and put something else in, or
It's a very cheap additive, and for New Zealand, the bulk of what we export in terms of dairy products is just milk powder. It's not a value added product. It's nothing that we've spent time and care and love creating. Like, it is literally just dried milk powder. I think that's over 90% of our sort of export of dairy, and then it ends up in things like you're saying, as a random food additive in a muesli bar or in a muffin or something, it's not a critical part of that product. How
interesting. Now, you're really interested in getting to know yourself more, and you've done lots of different personality tests, but there's one that you said was really good for you, which was the Myers-Briggs. So talk to us about how you found that one to sort of be the standout of all the other ones that you've tried.
Yeah, well, I love that stuff. I love all of it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a sucker for it. If I see some quiz or questionnaire, or I'm like, oh yes, I'll do it and find out what I am.
Yeah.
But I got really into Myers-Briggs because I had a friend who was qualified in it, and she told me about it to start with. Yeah. And then I went and did a full course in Auckland and got certified, and I started using it with the team. So when people will start, I'll sit with them and do a kind of hour session and go through their strengths and weaknesses and what they'd be suited to doing. And I just found that when you do it with a bunch of people and it sort of consistently, people really connect to it and they're like, wow, this makes so much sense and this really explains me, and why did I not know this before? And that kind of confirmed that, oh yeah, okay, this is actually genuinely useful to people. And then for me personally, when I use it for myself, I can think about my qualities in a third person language, which really helps. So, you know, if you're a certain way and someone else is different, you can just feel like, well, you're wrong, or like why you're crazy, or that doesn't make any sense, or why do you think like that? But when you have a framework that explains, oh, your brain is actually wired in this very unique way, and that makes you behave this way, and that creates these certain traits and habits and what you'd call like a personality type, then it makes a lot more sense. And you're like, oh, okay, you're just a thinker and I'm a feeler. That makes sense now. Yeah. You're just different than me. It's not, there's nothing wrong with you. It's just your brain is programmed differently. So yeah, I found it really handy. I use it for relationships. I use it with my family. Yeah. I use it with everybody. I've got a little database of all my friends and family and all their personality types, and I track what they all are so that I remember and I can accommodate them better.
Yeah, and actually meet them where they are, right? Yeah. That would be such a helpful tool. Like, I've heard of Myers-Briggs, obviously, and I've done it years ago. But to actually think of that now in a schooling sense, it'd be like, how helpful, in terms of our bullying, our horrible bullying, and all of those different stats we have in New Zealand, how helpful those kind of, how to understand others and ourselves, tools could be to change some of those stats. And
it would make a real difference.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like such a hard thing to roll out, costly or time-wise.
No, because if you think about kids and how they, like introverts and extroverts, for example, and you get bullied for being the quiet kid that wants more time to yourself, or you want to, but they're just recharging, that's what they need to do. They need to reflect and recharge to restore their energy to then go out and play, and those sorts of basic things. Yeah,
that's amazing. Now, you also explored lots of religions, which I found really, really interesting. So tell us about what you learned while you were doing that, and sort of what tools you've picked up along the way.
Yeah, well, I guess the background of that is, so I grew up Christian, so family is Christian. I say this almost past tense because now everyone's sort of gone in their own directions. So no one's really going to church regularly anymore, but we definitely did when I was a kid. And so that was all that I knew, or that was my sort of worldview, was Christianity. And then when I was maybe 17 or 18, I was on a plane flying to Christchurch, and there was this lovely lady sitting beside me, and I got chatting with her, and then she turned out to be Baha'i, from the Baha'i faith, and I had no idea what that was. Like, she said Baha'i, I'm like, Bawat, I've never come across this before. And then it made me think, wow, I don't know anything. I don't know anything about anyone else's religions. I've just got this one, and there's all these other ones. And then, I wanted to kind of get to know what everybody else thought. So then I just joined a new one every year for quite a few years, and I had a blog, and I'd openly tell them, I'm here to study your faith, you know, but I'd go to everything, fully participate, read all the books. So I studied a whole bunch. I hung out with Quakers, Baha'is for quite a while, Hare Krishnas. So I did a whole variety, Buddhists, and it just gave me this way broader perspective of beliefs and, moral codes and why people follow these different things. And so now I've ended up nothing. Kind of like a little patchwork of all of these assorted faiths. So there's no one that I kind of claim as my one anymore. Yeah.
I mean, you talked about, when we caught up, you were talking about I think it was the Baha'i cards?
The virtue cards.
Yeah, the virtue cards.
That's a favourite takeaway from that one.
Yeah, that you've picked up along the way. So talk to us about those.
Yeah, I love the virtue cards. They're actually kind of, similar-ish to what you just did with me at the beginning.
Yeah.
So they're a set of cards, and each one is about a different character quality. So one might be like generosity or perseverance or purposefulness. And you draw them in the morning. So you pick one, you reflect on it, maybe over a cup of tea or outside with the dog, or well, that's what we do, outside with the dog. And you talk about it with your partner or whoever's there, your family, and then that's kind of your virtue for the day. So then you try and keep it in mind, and you try and reflect on, am I practicing this and how, and then the next morning you talk about how you went with that one, and then you draw a new one.
Yeah.
So it's a conversation starter and also like a little touchstone.
Reflection.
And
yeah.
So I loved that about the Baha'i faith. I was like, these are really cool. So I used those for years and bought sets of them and gave them to people and stuff. And and then when I met my partner and now husband, he had them on his wall. Like we were talking about them. He asked if I'd ever heard of them. I was like, oh yes, I give them to people all the time. I put them with everyone's birthday presents. And he was like, oh yeah, I have them on my bedroom wall. I was like, really? Like no one really knew what they were unless they were Baha'i, and he wasn't Baha'i. But his Oma Jean, she was Baha'i, and so he'd grown up with her using them with them, and they'd really resonated with him. And so they pop up in all these different ways, and and then actually for our wedding, I wrote a set of them, of virtue cards of our favourite ones, and got a friend to design all the illustrations and got them printed, and we put them in nice boxes and made little stencil covers for the boxes and stuff. We were doing them together on the morning of the wedding because we still had a whole bunch of them to make, so we got up at like 7 out in the garage like spray painting, and we gave them to everyone as a gift, like everyone who came to the wedding. And it was a really lovely gift.
Coolest gift to give your guests.
I actually think it is the coolest gift.
It is so cool, and it's the coolest story to have of what your wedding morning was.
Yeah,
you know, like that's an unforgettable way to start.
And they're all using them too. Yeah, so we bump into people and they're like, "Oh, what's your one for today? We got this one," and it's really nice. It's a really nice thing to talk about with people. And
that's a legacy that you've left as well. That's something that you've gifted to people that's just changing their lives.
Yeah.
Just quietly and softly, and that's so cool. Now you've just talked about a little bit, but you have a specific way that you start your day each day. So talk to us about that and why that's so important for you to start the day that way.
So, get up in the morning, get ready. While I'm getting ready, my husband Dave makes me a special cup of tea. So this is a tradition. So he makes like a little. It's quite hard to describe, a design that goes on top of my tea, and he cuts things out of magazines to make it. And it's usually something, it could be funny or it could be meaningful, because my nickname's Tesh, and so I'm Little T, and so he makes a tea for Little T, and it has a little design. Anyway, it's all very cute, and that's been going for ages. I've got like 700 of them now, and I keep them in a tin, and I take photos of them in the morning. And so that's a highlight. So I go out and see what the tea of the day is, and then and then we take them outside with the dog, and and we do the virtue cards. So we do that first, reflect on the one from the day before, draw the new one, and then we do our gratitude journals, which are the Whakawhitai journals, which it's a New Zealand author that's put them together. They're really cool. They're based on the Te Whare Tapawha model, and looking at all areas of your life, and you do gratitude for each of them and a little affirmation, and so we share those with each other, and that's sort of our little reflective start to the morning, and then we're full on, into the day. The busyness begins. Yeah. But it's nice having that little bit of quiet, reflective time.
That cup of tea has just made my day.
They're the best.
That's so cool, and just that little, again, small moment, small thing to do for someone else, it just makes a big difference.
Yeah.
My mum, when she was pregnant with me, random story, we know we go random stories, she used to get really bad morning sickness. And so in the morning, my dad would get up and make her a cup of tea with 2 wine biscuits and bring it to the bed so that she could have that, because she'd get really dizzy and just feel unwell.
Aww.
And he still does it now.
So the 2 biscuits?
Yep, 2 biscuits and a cup of tea every morning. I'm 38 years old. And he's still, nice. he's 80, and he'll go and get a cup of tea and make her biscuits. And we'll
I love
the biscuits. That. And that's just... So when she comes and stays at our house to babysit our children, my kids know that now. And so
they get the biscuits out.
And they get it all sorted for her, because that's what we do in our family.
I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I hope I still get my little cup of tea thing when I'm 80.
And the cutout, I think that is
He collects all these magazines for it too, so he goes to the recycling centre in Raglan to get all these stacks of magazines and goes through them and like cuts out all these. It's like his little creative challenge in the morning.
I love that. So is it like just quotes, or does he like collage?
Pictures, quotes. He puts my little face on things, like, because on the yogurt labels there's my little face on some of them, so I cut that out and put that on things. And it's hard to describe, but very adorable.
That is so cool. Now, we touched on it earlier as well, but enjoying movement is so important, and I don't think there is a better way to describe it. We shouldn't be beating the crap out of ourselves doing something that just doesn't bring us joy, because it's not sustainable. We can't keep doing it if it doesn't bring us joy, and you've found that. So what do you do for yourself that really brings you joy to keep your body moving or keep your mind engaged and active, and sort of, because you need to be super strategic in what you're doing and looking over the hill and far away. So how do you do that, and what ways have you found that you really love?
Yeah, well, I talked about the spin class, so I'm doing that a couple of times a week and really enjoying that. Having a dog is great, so going for walks, throwing the ball, taking him to the beach or the bush reserve here. That's really lovely. And then for the mind side of things, I have a very active mind. It's full of ideas and it's constantly going. So I love little mental challenges. Like I love the New York Times Wordle and the connections and the daily crossword, like all those things. I do those every day. And I love reading. So that's definitely, I find that relaxing and stimulating. Yeah. Like chilling in front of the fire on the couch or outside under a tree with a book. Like that's a perfect afternoon right there. So cool. Yeah.
I recently read too, Tetris is real good for calming the mind.
Gosh, I haven't played that for a long time.
I know, and
Tetris.
I thought, I wonder if I can download that on my phone. But yeah, apparently it's good to keep your mind active enough that you can't be sort of like worrying about or being anxious about whatever you may be anxious or worried or stressed about, but it also helps you relax into sleep because you're starting to build patterns, and apparently that like lowers the different cortisol levels in your brain. So I was like, I'm going to give that a nudge, because I think our brains are similar in terms of like we're constantly finding connections and putting things like, oh yeah, that actually fits over here, or I read that and that's just clicked to here, and so it's just how you so I haven't tried the Tetris thing yet, but
Tetris.
So
then statistically we were all sleeping better in the 90s.
It's
like, I don't know anyone who plays Tetris anymore.
So true. We used to race to school. There was one computer that had Tetris on it, and we'd all race to school to see who could get it first when we were at primary school. Now, you're part of a lot of communities. So talk to us about some of those communities that you're a part of and how you contribute to those.
Well, the Raglan community is the big one. So it's a very tight community here in that way that, only small towns have, where you kind of know everyone, and you go to the supermarket and you're like, okay, I'm going to have at least 5 chats while I'm going around and getting my groceries, and you're like, no, that's going to happen. And there's always events happening here, and a lot of them we support with the business, with Raglan Food Co. So we're quite involved from that side of things. We have a community fund, so we give out grants to local organisations who are doing things for either social or environmental causes. So I get kind of involved in those sorts of things, and often go along to, it's like a doco screening night or Maui Dolphin Day that was recently, those sorts of events. And I really like that about living here. I really like that people care and people are doing things that matter to them, and everyone seems to have like a million side hustles that they're into, and it's just a really nice aspect of living here. Local community is a big one. Whānau family is massive for me as well. Like we have mum and dad living next door.
So cool.
We have my husband's brother is also on the same property in a tiny house, and so there's lots of family around all the time. And then professionally, the Edmund Hillary Fellowship has been quite a big one. I've been part of that for maybe 5 years now. 5 or 6 years since it started. And that's, I don't know if you know much about, you probably do, but that's sort of, for those who don't know, there's like 500 entrepreneurs from all around the world, part of this fellowship. So there's a small percentage of Kiwi fellows and a lot of international fellows. And the idea of it was to attract these kind of high impact people into the country to do what they do here. And so that's pretty amazing. So I've met a lot of really cool people through that, and some of them I've ended up working with, like one fellow is also a trustee in a charitable trust that I've started, the Values Trust, Cheryl. She's amazing, and so I end up going to sort of events and doing things with those people too. And then I have my foodie community, which I also love. So I have, ever since we started with the yogurt, I've kind of built this little network of food business owners, because everyone was doing it alone. That's what I found when we first started. In the first year, I'd keep talking to people at expos and demos, and people were working so hard, and they didn't really have any time to even ask for help almost, so they're kind of just struggling away. And so I started running these foodie getaways. I bring together everyone for a weekend, book a really nice Airbnb, and we'd have like 20 to 30 food business owners come along, and always in a different location. So we've done 10 of them now all around the country. The last one was in Taranaki. And and so through that I've built some really good relationships with other food business people, and we've heard all the struggles, and we've tried to help each other, and we've swapped resources and tips, and it's really, really nice. Like, it's a really supportive area. I think food people are quite grounded, caring, they want to make a difference, they're making the thing because they believe in it, and love the foodie community as well.
And it can feel quite competitive too, right? Like, and I think that's the more you can open the door and open the gate to be like, it is, but it's not. And if we work together, we're stronger for it. Then if you keep sort of supporting that message, people don't feel so alone, because it's been some hard times, and I can only imagine, particularly in like the food industry, how that's been over the last, say, 4 years,
really
if not
tough.
longer. But like it's been tough. So the more that you can show that kindness and give that connection, and if it is just 10 minutes of your time, but that one tidbit or piece of advice
can
that
make
helps,
all the difference.
Or just saying, call me if you need, or email, like, it makes.
Here's this contact. Here's a good person to talk to about packaging. Like, there's so many different ways we can help each other. It's
before we started recording, obviously we were talking about the gift of time, and I think that's a big part of it, right? Like, it's not that they're going to steal your ideas, or if they use the same supplier, you're going to lose your edge. Like, it's just talk about it, ask questions, and if you don't have those connections, like, reach out to everyone and just see, because
everyone knows someone.
Someone will be able to point you in the direction of the next right person to talk to. That's so cool. You also have a dinner party club, which I
the dinner party
absolutely adore. So you have to talk to us about that, because it's inspired me too. So talk to us about your dinner party club.
Well, it's something, I used to run one in Auckland like years ago when I was a teenager, and I loved it. And then since being in Raglan, I've been like, I want to get that going again. And then a couple of years ago, Dave and I were like, okay, we're going to do it. We're going to do the dinner party club thing. So it was a New Year's resolution that we're going to get it going. And so it's just a group of friends, and we pick a theme every month. So this month, what have we got this month? Malaysian. That's coming up. So that's next weekend. And then we swap houses, go to different people's houses, and we dress up, we make food in theme. We try and make it really themey, like have the music playing and have the whole table set up, and maybe there's like some educational element. Like, we watched a how to make a matcha green tea when we had Japan theme, like a video of a tea master. So we try and do that sometimes as well. It's just a really nice way to get together with friends and experience something of another culture, like try something new, because you cook something that you would never think of making otherwise, and that's quite fun. And seeing everyone's outfits is always pretty entertaining as well. And
that is
so we've done a lot of different themes.
Idea. What was your favourite theme so far?
My favourite theme, we did one. What was it? Was it Mediterranean or Moroccan? I think it might have been Moroccan. But we built up, Dave built an indoor tent, like, sort of like a Bedouin style tent that was huge. And so we were all sitting on the ground, like with a flat table in this tent with all these fairy lights. And it felt kind of magical. And it was cool. I liked that one.
So you're really passionate about creating spaces and designing spaces that really help positive vibes to start happening and support the people that are within it. So talk to us about how you do that, and sort of what things you do to really support that positive vibe and build that culture.
Well, I guess, when you walk into a space and you either feel like, I belong here, I am welcome here, or you feel like, I want to get the hell out of here because this is horrible. You can't, sometimes it's really hard to put that into words or like quantify those feelings and those emotions that come up for you when you go into a certain environment. But I feel like there's a lot of value in the intangible. So you can't necessarily define why it's better, but you know something in you is like, this is better. Better. So yeah, it's just kind of around that, like trying to make spaces that feel warm, welcoming, hospitable, like some thought and care's gone into them. And that's something that we've tried to do all throughout the business. Like if we're choosing gifts, you know, to give to team members or to give to stockists, we'll get a handmade gift that's like a handmade pottery bowl from Tony Sly or Carla Stevenson or Sarah Bing, like one of the local potters. And there's a difference. Like if you unwrap a commercial gift that's, you know, some like a ruler and a calendar and a mouse pad or whatever with a brand on it. Yep. And you're like, oh, okay. Like you're not excited about that, right? And then if you unwrap something and it's like handmade, local, beautiful things from real people, like it just, the whole feel of it's different. It's got a different energy to it. So yeah, really, I've seen that make a really big difference, like with the business over the years, having that kind of attitude and approach. And yeah, and it shaped how we've done the factory and the office and everything here. And it shapes how we would set up a stand at an expo or run an event, or just trying to make things feel cool and feel like welcoming.
Yeah. And I think when someone's put a lot of thought into your gift, that you feel seen as well. Yeah. Or like that they've really paid attention to who you are. Not just gone, oh, right, it's Christmas, we need to get 25 boxes of this out, so we'll call up this company, go get the black box, and it's got the same snack things, and no offense, but you know, it's really nice to, like, we're again dairy intolerant family, so it's really, my husband's a builder, so we get gifts at Christmas time, and it's so nice when we open something and our kids can actually have it,
it's actually dairy free, and they know that,
they've paid attention, and we're like, oh, that like makes me almost, you know,
it makes you appreciate
to make sure they stay around.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because they're paying attention, they care about you, which is really, really nice.
That makes a real difference.
Yeah. And I'm sure that's how your staff feel here too. Just, again, like I said, the vibe walking in here, like they're just all happy to be here, and that's the kind of culture you want, because those are the kind of people who are going to stick around and they feel like they've got a purpose. You can tell that they know there's more to it than just whatever particular role they're doing. There's this massive picture you're working towards. So.
Yeah, we have some really lovely people. It is harder to maintain it as you get bigger. That's what I found, you know, that's been the learning, because when we were small, I mean, the level of effort that I would go to for people was bordering on insane, you know, like I baked everyone a birthday cake on their birthday, and then it kind of got to a point where I was like, I can't keep baking all these cakes, this is taking me ages. So now we have like a monthly birthday cake for all the babies of that month kind of thing. So you have to, like, the personalization gets a little less as you get bigger, and that's been hard for me adjusting to that. But there's just, I used to, like, you know, get everyone a hand put together present that I'd do for them on their work anniversary and like all these things, but the level of time that all of this takes. So now it's kind of like, how do we preserve that essence while, you know, not spending your entire life doing things for other people?
Yeah. In a way that they'll still appreciate and know that you care. Yeah. Now, environment obviously is a massive part of what you do. So talk to us about some of the areas that you're really focused on and where you're really wanting to have impact long term.
Yeah, well, the big one for us is let's get people to stop eating dairy products and eat plant-based products. So that's the easy shift, and that's kind of the whole power of what we're trying to create, is like a really delicious alternative that doesn't feel like a sacrifice. So when you eat our yogurt, you're like, this is better than what I had before. You know, you're not giving something up, because a lot of alternative products are, like, shall we say, not as delicious. I can be kind of average.
Yeah, I can attest to the fact that we've tried so much, and that's why Raglan yogurt has become the staple, because we can scoop it out into little containers for my children's lunch boxes. We put an ice pack in, and that's their lunch with some of our homemade bliss balls and stuff. But it's genuine, it's creamy, and it's good, and it's delicious, and there's no compromise. It's so good, so good, so good.
Love this review. Thank you. But yeah, so that's like, well, if we can keep doing that, but do it across more categories, that would be really amazing. So we're not just doing yogurt, but maybe we're doing desserts and treats and drinks and other things that also are equally good. And because by doing that, you know, we can the highest impact you can have as an individual with your carbon footprint is just what you eat. That's it. Like all the studies from United Nations, all the things that get published show that. So it's not, you know, the clothes that you're buying or even your travel, like your food is up here. So I think if we can just help people to eat less meat, less dairy, you know, it's not that they have to necessarily go hardcore vegan because not everyone's going to do that. We're more trying to speak to the flexitarians, like the people who want to cut down, want to make some better choices, still want a bit of flexibility in their diet, and we're a good option for that. So, yeah. I've just last week gotten the results back on a life cycle assessment for our products, and so I was really interested to do this because I wanted to know if we were better. Like I've been saying for years that we're better, that we're better than dairy on all these metrics, and I've been sure that that's the case, but I haven't had the data to back it up. And so they've gone and studied our products, you know, from start to finish, all the ingredients, all the packaging, everything, against all the planetary boundaries. So all the kind of critical metrics of what's going to maintain Earth's systems, and if we crash these, we're all goners. And I just got the draft back last week, and I still need to go through it in detail, but it was really encouraging because it looked like we performed better on all 10 metrics than dairy yogurt. And so that was like, okay, cool, we have something that's better. So that's one that I'm really passionate about, and I love plant-based food. I'm always telling people to try it. With all our events and things that we cater here for the team, because it's not that all our team are plant-based, but, you know, if we're putting on lunch or whatever, it is. That's and we're trying to show, like, look, it's delicious, it tastes good, you don't have to sacrifice, it's really good for you. And
they become your advocates, right? They become those people who are just out there going, oh my goodness, this is what I used to believe in now.
People are always surprised that it can taste really good. And
That's so cool. Now, tell us more about your values trust, because we touched on it, we didn't actually go into it. So what amazing things are you doing, and what are your focus points within the values trust?
This is a big conversation area.
And this is
a lot has been happening with the values trust. So, well, I guess the story of it is, so the business is going well. You know, we're having business success, which is great, and I'm super grateful. But I've never been about the money. Like that's not what it is for me. I've wanted to make a difference and do good stuff. So I wanted to take the money that I've made from the business and put it into something, like a vehicle for doing good stuff. And so I started this charitable trust 2 years ago. So a registered charitable trust. I've put everything I can into it. And then I've got a little team of trustees in there as well with me, sort of guarding or being guardians of this money and resource. And then together we've been making decisions on what projects are we going to do and how can we make a difference. So we've got 3 core focus areas. We're calling them our 3 C's: climate, creatures, children's literacy. So these are all things that I'm really passionate about and I've cared about for a long time. And so within each of those focus areas, we've got different projects running, and they're quite exciting. And the first kind of year, we spent a lot of time just meeting with people and researching and finding out, you know, what the needs were. And then in the last year, it's like, okay, cool, we know what we're going to focus on and what we're going to do. So some of the projects, and I won't go into all of them because we don't, we've got limited time.
You're all good. The projects are amazing.
So on the climate front, we're backing a startup called Daisy Lab, and it's 3 female co-founders, super smart scientists who have come up with a way to duplicate dairy proteins without cows. So fermenting dairy proteins, dairy identical proteins in a vat, you know, similar to how you might brew beer using yeast. And so we were actually just at an event for Daisy Lab on Thursday in Auckland because we're kicking off a big capital raise to build a pilot plant. Because we've made it now, like we've got whey protein that we've created on a small scale, you know, in the lab, and it's pretty amazing. And we've put it in cheese, and we've put it in yogurt, and we've put it in ice cream, and it performs really well. You know, you can't tell the difference. And so for me, that's like a big game-changing thing that could actually help people shift. Because what we've done, you know, with the yogurt, we've been able to pull it off because we can genuinely make something that tastes as good, if not better. But then other products, it's really hard to get that same level of taste. So cheese. You know, we've tried to make dairy-free cheese, and it's really hard to make stuff that's as good without the proteins, because that provides the binding and the stringiness and all these properties. And so if we can create proteins that we don't need cows, and you know, we can make cheese and anything out of it, we could help shift the mass market away from animal proteins. So I'm pretty excited about that. So that's one. And then with creatures, we're working with an animal welfare organisation called Hūha, helping you help animals. Really amazing organisation, incredible founder, Carolyn, who's like tirelessly fought for animals for like 22 years now. She's a vet nurse and used to train animals as well. And so they're building like a massive education centre and animal sanctuary down in Wellington. And they've got centres all around as well, not just there. And so they're kind of working on the educational front and legislative change, trying to, you know, mandate for desexing of dogs and cats, because that's the big problem. You know, we've got all these feral animals running around, creating more animals, and they're not cared for, and they're, you know, causing problems and also just suffering, which is horrible. So working with them, and we're trying to generate sort of ongoing income for them, because, you know, they rely on donations and they've got op shops, but we're trying to find a new model that would help them get money coming in on a regular basis. And so we've come up with this social enterprise model of doggy daycares. So that's the idea, so that we'll build a kind of model doggy daycare, which we've got a site and we've just started building between Raglan and Hamilton. And if we can prove that it works, then we could set them up like a franchise, you know, all around the country. And then the wealthy dogs who can afford to be, you know, in doggy daycare are now helping fund the needs of the other animals that aren't quite so fortunate. So that's the idea with that. So that's going to be really fun, and I'm going to get to hang out with heaps of dogs, which is a great plus. And we're working on the whole design of it at the moment and going through the whole process. So that's exciting. And hopefully we can make a real difference over time, because we'll have that kind of sustainable revenue coming in, and then it can be. So it's all the profits from the doggy daycare go to Hūha. That's the arrangement. And then on children's literacy, we've designed this program called Little Libraries. And we're funding the rollout of these modular forest little library kit sets that are kind of designed to look like a forest. So you've got a big tree and you've got shrubs and boulders, and they hold the books. And we've come up with a book list of 20 books, all New Zealand authors. Half of them have te reo, and they're meant to be, we're hoping, the most engaging possible titles, like for that age group in ECs, in early childhood education centres. And just this month they are going out. They are being shipped. So we're shipping 100 of them this month to centres in kind of high need areas, so high deprivation areas. And the reason for that is because we did a lot of research and found that they don't get specific funding for books. A lot of them don't have books, or they have poor quality books that are sort of just donated and not even necessarily that relevant to the age group. And you know all about this because this is your background, so we've already had yarns about this.
We have.
But we're hoping that we can get these out to centres all around New Zealand. You know, we want to get to 1,000 centres in 7 years, and then study the results. So we've got a research partner, this amazing woman, Alex, who's volunteered to study this whole thing for us and see what the results are, and if they're working, and if it's improving engagement. Because a lot of the issue with reading is that reading doesn't look as fun as toys, right? So if you've got all these toys and then you've just got a little stack of books in a corner somewhere, just on a basket, like, the kids don't go for them, they go for the toys. And so what we've found, because we did a trial in 4 centres in Auckland, because it's so beautiful, like, it looks amazing, and it's quite big, like you have to reach up to grab the book from the tree sort of thing, and the kids are like, wow, what is this? And they're excited, and then they go over and they're like, oh wow, and they want to read the books because it looks cool. So it's the same thing again, it's the same design thing of like, how do you make an experience rather than just making something average. And I'm really excited about this project because I love children's books. I used to volunteer at the library as a kid and sort all the books in Diderville for years. And I wanted to write children's books, and I've done 2 of them, like self-published one and had one published. And So like I love that space and then the difference that it makes, because I think reading, if you can fall in love with reading, that can shape your whole life. Like that just gives you all these options because you can learn, like, and you want to learn, and that makes all the difference. Yeah,
that's so powerful. And speaking from an early childhood teacher, the another key point is for the staff to back that as well.
Yes.
So to care for it, to love it, and to when they read, don't be like, okay, we're going to read a book at that time, but actually be like,
put energy in.
You know, and put voices on it, or just show excitement, because that just brings them in, and they'll go, can we have another book?
Yes.
And as soon as you get that, you're like, right, we're winning, because that's the stuff. That's how you build that. On the dog sanctuary and on the doggy daycares, it makes me think of Sheree Kaka, so I'm going to put the two of you in touch.
Okay, cool.
Sheree loves dogs. She was just in Canada for the Black Ferns, and she put a SOS out. If anyone's got a dog you could bring down, I miss my dog.
Oh, I relate to that.
So I'll try and put the two of you in touch, because I reckon she'll get involved.
Great. I'd love to meet a fellow dog friend.
Yeah, she would love this. So for anybody who's sort of starting the sustainability journey, who potentially gets overwhelmed or wonders where to start, where should they start? What's a few little things that they could start doing to move themselves in the right direction, to not think that they've got to commit to all of these life-changing things, that it can be expensive to move to our glass bottles and, you know, like these different things. But what are a couple of things you could recommend for people to start, or to go and listen to, or watch or read, that might just help them move forward in that sustainability journey?
Gosh, yeah, where to start? Well, I mean, the biggest impact area is food, so making some different changes there, and that doesn't have to be that hard or expensive, because actually quite a lot of plant-based food is cheap, or you know, like you could have beans, for example. Like a can of beans is like $1. You know, so just simple things like that. Growing food is also amazing, and like we have a big veggie garden, which I don't spend enough time in, but my mum takes very good care of, and that's amazing too, just to have the connection to how food actually ends up, you know, on your plate, because a lot of people are just buy it from the supermarket and don't even really think about the journey of the food. So even if you do it on a really small scale, like just a few pots in front of the house on the deck or on a windowsill, or just growing some herbs and growing some cherry tomatoes, or just something sort of easy, that's a big one. And then I guess there's all the, if you go in the realm of the more kind of expensive things like an electric car, like that's not in range for everyone to just do. So I'd start with smaller things like bringing a reusable bag when you go shopping. You know, like that's, people are embracing that now, which is really cool. Trying to recycle properly, but that, don't even get me started on that, because it's honestly quite discouraging, because when you look into the recycling system, it's, even when you're sorting it all perfectly and you're rinsing it and you're putting things in the right bins, like the plastic is just going to landfill, you know, such a tiny percentage is actually getting recycled. So I guess minimizing your plastic use is always a good one as well. And for things to read and watch, like TED Talks, there's so many great TED Talks on sustainability and protecting the environment. I always find good ones on there. And locally there's, have you interviewed Nick? I think you have, Nicola, who has Mainstream Green. Yeah. Sure, and she's like the go-to expert on all this stuff. She came and did a workshop for our team recently, and you know, all these tips of what can you do and what little shifts can you make. And she's like next level though, you know, she's like bulk buying everything, and she meal preps for the whole week, and she's amazing. Cycles everywhere on a bike. Yes. And then come to Raglan is my other recommendation, because I feel like the sustainable lifestyle is just sort of embedded in the town, and you just see all these cool examples of it everywhere you go. And we have this amazing recycling centre here, Extreme Waste, and they divert kind of up to 80% of the whole town's waste that would go to landfill ordinarily, and they're turning it into other things, and they have a shop up there, and they have a wood yard and metal yard, and they compost and have worm farm, and like, so even just visiting something like that, which is free, you know, and you can just go up there and buy some clothes while you're there, because they have really cool secondhand clothes kind of op shop thing. Wander around Raglan and get some inspiration.
That's amazing. That's so cool. Right, we finish with each interviewee asks a question to the next interviewee, but they don't know who they're asking the question to. So here is your question today.
Oh.
And then we'll get you to write one after. So if you read it out for us and then you answer it, and then we'll get you to write one.
Cool.
Finish.
So this is from Hannah Fernando, who I don't know, but has a very cool name. And the question is, have you laughed today? What truly makes you laugh? And yes, I have laughed today. I laugh a lot. And I laughed at my tea this morning, because that I was telling you about before. Yep. And I laugh at those most mornings, but today's one was very funny. He'd reworked a ad for a Tesla Model 3 to be about me. So you could imagine that would be quite funny. Yes, ergonomic design, style and performance. They gave me a good laugh this morning.
Oh, that is priceless. Well, thank you so much for your time today. This has been such a fun interview, and there's so many cool takeaways for people about creating their environment and paying attention to the humans that are within it, but also paying attention to the vibe when you're walking into spaces and knowing if this is my space or not, but also just sustainability. There's so many. I could do this all day of wrapping this up, but thank you so much. I'm so grateful for your time, Tesh, and we will see you again next time. So, ka kite.
See you.